pod bay doors.
Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of The Cinematic Traveler. I am your intrepid movie exploring host, Chris, and on this episode, I am going to be bringing you the latest mobster-themed movie starring Robert De Niro. Well, not just one Robert De Niro, two Robert De Niros. In the Barry Levinson-directed movie, The Alto Nights. And I can't wait to talk to you about this movie. I mean, come on, it's De Niro, it's a mob movie, it's a marriage made in heaven, or is it? We'll find out. But before we do, if you can do me a quick favor, whatever you're watching or listening to this show on, somewhere there is a follow or subscribe button on that screen. If you could just go ahead and tap that button, I'd appreciate it, as it does help me and the show out, but it also helps you. You won't miss any future episodes, and you can go back and listen to my previous amazing reviews and hear my sexy, sexy voice. Also, if you could share the show with your friends, families, mob enemies, I don't care. I'll take any listeners at this point. Also, you can share it on your social media. You can find me on social media. I would probably say Instagram is the best way to do it, at Cinematic Traveler Pod. I do have a Twitter and a Blue Sky, but I'm hardly ever on there. Also, I have an email address, thecinematictravelerpod@gmail.com, if you want to get in touch with me that way as well. So there you have plenty of ways to follow the show, share the show, keep in touch with the show, keep in touch with the host. What more could anybody ask? There, I got through all of that podcaster, YouTuber mumbo jumbo quick, fast, and in a hurry, so we could dive into this episode. I hope you're doing well out there, my beloved listener. I am going to bring up a few things about the show, but I'm going to do that after the review. Just a few things that I am tinkering with, just to make the show a little bit better. We always got to try to make it a little bit better, right? Get better than you were yesterday. Isn't that the mantra of the day? So now that I have imparted my philosophical wisdoms on you, let's go ahead and talk about The Alto Nights.
Yeah, it's going to be fun on the bun.
As I mentioned, this is directed by Barry Levinson. Very famous director, has been doing this for many, many years. Many films that you have seen and love. Good Morning Vietnam, Rain Man. One of my favorites, Wag the Dog, if you are interested in a little political satire that make you look at things a little bit different. That's a good one to check out. But he has a ton of hits under his belt. But can he and Bobby De Niro create lightning in a bottle with The Alto Nights? Let's find out. I am going to give you a spoiler-free plot synopsis and a spoiler-free review. Now, in that plot synopsis, I have hidden two movie quotes. And if you can identify one or both of them, you get a point for each one that you get right. At the end of the month, I add up all the points, and whoever wins gets to pick a movie for me to review next month. How exciting is that? You have control over an episode of this podcast or YouTube or whatever the hell it is at this point. But you have control, and you can make me dance. Dance, monkey, dance. And I will dance for you just to get one more listener. That's how dedicated to the cause I am. But you could get in touch with me through the means that I mentioned earlier in the show. Or if you only listen from time to time, or this is your first time listening, just play along for fun. Let me know you're out there. It gets a bit lonely sitting behind my fort of blankets. And I know it seems a little uncool, but isn't that the best time of the week to be uncool with Chris? So let's talk about this movie already. I can hear you screaming from the treadmill or your car or at work, and people are looking at you strangely for doing that, but fuck them. Now, we open the film with a bang, literally, as Frank Costello, played by Robert De Niro, is on his way home and he is shot. In a case of good luck and a dim-witted assassin, Frank survives this hit, but he decides it's time to leave his life in the mob behind. With the support of his wife, Bobby, played by Deborah Messing, Frank sets out to get things in motion to get him out of this life with the mob. But leaving isn't as easy as he hoped, with Frank saying something like, "Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in." Hint, hint. To make matters worse, Frank's old friend and former mob boss, Vito Genovese, played by another Robert De Niro? What? Well, he is back in New York City to take control of the organized crime element. These two meet up and try to hash things out, with one De Niro saying to another De Niro, "You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Then who the hell else are you talking to? You talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to?" Hint, hint. This mistrust between old friends has violent repercussions as Frank looks to free Bobby and himself from his criminal past. Will Frank be able to leave these good fellas behind? Or will Vito take out Frank and regain his throne as King of New York? Well, I will not answer these questions and spoil the movie for you, but I will give you the best review for the Alto Nights in all of the podcaster YouTuber universe, nay, in all of the universe. So before we dig into my review, I will let you know I'm probably going to be a little bit quick with this one. There's not a whole lot to really talk about with this movie, so let's go ahead and talk about the positives of the Alto Nights.
Sounds pleasant.
So I will let you know, I was kind of interested in this movie, as I mentioned in my opening. I mean, it's Robert De Niro in a mob movie. That's usually a good combination, so I was a bit excited to watch this film. The other film out this weekend, Snow White, I really was not interested in. Not for any of the off-screen issues with that film, just not a movie really made for me, and I'm not a big fan of all these Disney remakes and all that stuff, so I just decided to go in a little more adult fashion. And this probably is going to lead to very few people listening or watching the show, but why should I make this easy on myself? So I went with this movie, and I will say, to start with the positives, it does look nice. I feel like it really brings you into this world. It's set maybe in the 40s and 50s, ends kind of in the 60s. So you get a lot of the clothing, the attire. These men are wearing their nice suits and their fedoras, and everybody was dressed nice. What a wonderful time, right? I'm not a big fan of this casual, trashy dressing that we do nowadays, especially us gentlemen. Come on, put on a shirt and tie. Dress it up, class it up a little bit. Have a little respect for yourself. Don't whine about, "Oh, I don't like to wear a shirt and tie." Fuck off. Be a man. Look nice for your ladies is what I'm trying to say. But I always do like that older style, that vintage style, even though I don't like the wide fat ties that they had back then. But anyway, with the cars and the settings and everything, it does drag you into this world. You feel like you're watching, really at parts of this movie, you feel like you're watching a documentary because there's a lot of narration by De Niro as Frank Castillo. That's really the main character, is Frank of the movie. This is based on a true story. I didn't mention that at the beginning, but yeah, this is sort of the downfall of that early mob system, I guess. I don't know much history with the mob other than what I watched, so you'll forgive me for my ignorance in the subject. But yeah, this is based on a true story, and you're kind of seeing everything through Frank's eyes. And as I mentioned, I think the film looks nice. It's shot well. I got some pacing issues that we'll get to momentarily, but for the most part, the movie looks good, and it is immersive into this world of crime and these 40s and 50s and all that fun stuff. The next positive, De Niro is De Niro. I mean, the guy's pretty good in just about everything he's in. He's had a few duds here or there, but for the most part, you got to get a good performance. I will say, as Frank, I thought he was a little more boring. I guess maybe that's the character supposed to be a little more subdued, but I did like him as Vito. He's got some prosthetics on to make him look a little bit different, but I mean, come on, it's De Niro and De Niro. What a vanity project this must have been. Hey, Bobby, would you like to be in a movie where you star opposite of yourself? The only actor that could act against Robert De Niro is Robert De Niro. Oh, Lord. But yeah, I liked him as Vito. It seemed like he was maybe channeling a little bit of Joe Pesci at moments. Since I think Joe has long since retired now, it seems De Niro has taken on that role. But he has that same fire in him. You never know when he's being kind or when he's going to snap and be angry and do something horrible, on a moment's notice. So I kind of like that performance a little bit better. It was fun to see them acting against each other in a couple of scenes. But, that's what you got to get with De Niro. I think all the performances, for the most part, are fine. Deborah Messing is fine as Bobby, Frank's wife. She doesn't get a whole lot to do here other than just to react to all of this world around her. But she does fine. I don't think anybody was so bad in this movie. I was like, oh, this is repulsive. They just do okay performances, with De Niro being, I guess, the standout. Let's see what other positives at the film. I wasn't in an empty movie theater for the first time in the last couple of movies. That was fun. The popcorn was fresh and warm. It's a rare treat in that particular Regal cinema that I go to. Probably one of the worst ones I've ever been in. Oh my god, I really don't like that movie theater, but I have to go because I have the unlimited pass, so I go to that one. Anyway, so yeah, that sort of wraps up the positives for this movie. That should tell you where I'm headed in my final review for this film. Let's go into the negative of the Alto Nights.
Uh-oh, I don't like the sound of that.
And I will say, I mentioned there is a narration to the film, and this film does something that I really don't like as a movie fan, and it tells more than it shows. You get a lot of characters sitting around, and I was not expecting a big action spectacle here. I understood that this was a drama, a period piece about gangsters and all that stuff. But my God, you don't get time to see people or see how things worked out. You just get people talking to each other about it. Oh, remember when we were young and we were friends? Well, it would have been nice of you to show that to me. You could have had this movie does have a few flashbacks, but not enough to set up this friendship that has turned between Frank and Vito. You don't really ever feel a reason why other than Frank just wants to get out because he's kind of ingraced himself into the upper elite in New York. So he wants to be more of a quote unquote honest person when dealing with politicians. How honest can you be when dealing with them? And Vito is deciding to take the mob or the gangsters into the world of drugs that Frank doesn't agree with. So I mean that's kind of the split, but it seems like there's more between the two of them, or there should be more, and you don't really have that build up other than them saying, oh, we were friends back then and now we hate each other. Same thing when they talk about Vito. Oh, he's super dangerous, you never know what he's going to do, and blah 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 blah, and you get very little glimpses into that. You have characters show up where they go, oh, that's mob boss such and such and mob boss. I'm like, okay, well then why the hell do I care about these people? Characters show up and they get killed. I don't care about them because they played no part in this movie whatsoever. Again, it just feels like this movie just tells you everything. Like I said, it feels like a documentary because a lot of it is just Frank telling you what happened. And this is a movie, and I'm going to see a movie. I want to see things. I want to be pulled into this world and these characters, and kind of feel like when somebody gets killed, oh my god, that's awful, or when things turn bad, you understand it more. And I mean, I hate to compare it to Goodfellas because that's kind of the gold standard, but that movie does do that. It pulls you into that world. It has all these outrageous characters. And really, for the first third or half of that movie, you like this world that they're in. And then Scorsese kind of reminds you, oh, wait a minute, this is not a world you want to be in. But you're invested in these characters. You understand where the stories go. This, you just get told it. And I just can't stand that. This is a movie. Show me things, which leads into the next negative for the film. And there really does not feel like there's any urgency in this movie. I talked about the pacing of the movie. As nice as the movie looks, I never feel like I'm headed towards anything. I mean, Frank from the beginning of the movie is trying to get out, and you feel like there's going to be some big clash or something's going to happen. Something does happen at the end that I don't want to spoil, but it never feels like it was all leading up to this moment. And this was the big moment and all this stuff. You really don't even find out if Frank was behind it. It's just assumed that he was. But yeah, nothing feels like it's in a hurry to get anywhere. You got, again, I understand it's De Niro and he's 80 something years old. You're not going to have a lot of action scenes, but with a lack of characters that you're interested in or that are unique, or, someone on the screen where you're like, oh, this is a really great performance, you're just bored most of the movie and it just drags on. And some of the scenes feel like they just go on too long, and you're like, god damn, just get to the next scene or get to whatever we're doing here. Why does it feel like a thread? You get the thread at the very beginning and then sort of nothing else for the rest of the movie. So yeah, it didn't really have any emotion to it. It didn't have a driving force to keep you interested in the movie. And again, I hate to harp on the other characters, but like with Deborah Messing as Bobby, his wife, you don't really get anything more from her than she's just kind of reacting to everything and going, oh my god, we need to get out of this, we're going to get out of this, aren't we? You have this whole other thing with like the government stepping in trying to catch them. They have these trials and whatnot, and it's just not going anywhere. You're not connected to it. There's nothing interesting. As I mentioned, it's just, there's not a lot for me to talk about this movie, good or bad. It's very boring. There was a point in the movie where I had to get up and use the restroom because that Pepsi Zero ran right through me. I'll be honest with you. I was walking out to the bathroom and I thought, do I even want to go back in there and finish this movie? Because I didn't care. I didn't give a damn what was going to happen. I wasn't that interested. It wasn't intriguing. It didn't pull me in. I wasn't like engaged with what was going to happen or the characters to know, oh, is this one going to live? Is this one going to die? It just, there's nothing here. It's boring. And I know it's a movie for grown-ups and we're supposed to sit there and listen to dialogue and get all that, but it still could have had things paced out better or things that made me interested in this movie. And I guess ultimately that's the biggest negative for this movie is it's just boring and it kind of wastes De Niro in this role as well as the other actors in the film because like Vito has this guy that is his right hand man. I couldn't tell you his name right now, and I didn't see the movie. I saw it yesterday, so I have no idea any other character's name in this movie other than Vito and Frank. I had to look up his wife's name because I couldn't remember her name. So yeah, this movie just I hate to say it disappointed me because I didn't have high expectations, but I was hoping for a good grown up movie where I could be invested in characters and good dialogue, and this just wasn't it. I mean, if you want to see a gangster movie with one actor playing two characters in the movie, go check out Legend with Tom Hardy. Yeah, it's a British film, so for us Americans, it gets a bit tough for some of the language barriers there. But that was a good, interesting movie that I was compelled by these characters and the story they were in, and this had none of that in it. So my overall thoughts for the Alto Nights is just to skip this movie. I don't even know that I would recommend watching it on whatever streaming service it comes out on. I guess it would be a good one if you need an afternoon nap on Sunday. It's a rainy day and you just need something to cure that insomnia, then the Alto Nights might do it. So, yeah, just skip this one, which, from what I've seen online, a lot of people are. So, for the vast numbers of you that are listening or watching right now, you can get the definitive answer as to whether or not you should see this movie. And I say, pass on it. I'm sorry, Bobby. I'm sorry. You know I love you as an actor, especially in these Bob movies. But man, I think maybe it's time to hang it up. Yeah, just right off into the sunset, my friend. Although, Scorsese could put you in another movie and you would be great in that. So, yeah, overall, just skip the Alto Nights. So that does wrap up my review for this film. As I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a bit of a brief episode because again, I just didn't have a whole lot to talk about with this movie. So yeah, if you're still listening, then I must have done something right. And if you did, again, please click that follow button, subscribe button, and keep up with the show. Hopefully we'll have a better option next weekend. As far as my changes to the show, you might have noticed for my regular listeners, I kind of cut a few things out of my review. I'm just trying to speed things up a little bit, see if that helps out a little. Also, I think I'm going to maybe pull back on the midweek episode. I've got a new hobby that I would like to work on, and there's a few other things in my life that I don't want to say I've been neglecting, but maybe I've put on the back burner for a little too long that I need to handle. And just doing back to back episodes like that, it gets kind of tough for me. I'm not good at budgeting my time at all. Maybe if I was better at that, I know people that could do that. I'm just not, that's just not me. So, I think mainly I'll do midweek episodes for whoever wins the contest, whatever movie they want me to review there. And I'm thinking maybe I might do, like, if I see something on a streaming service, I'll either do a review or some sort of like a recommendation video or podcast to let you know that you should watch this or something like that. So, yeah, we're going to tinker a little bit with a few things, but I am going to kind of scale back. And I will be here every week doing a new movie review, but we'll be a little more hit or miss with the other episodes during the week. So bear with me as we, like I said, we trim away some of the fat on the show here. So now that I've gotten you all caught up with what's going on and we're basically done with this episode, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen or watch my show. I greatly appreciate you as an audience member. I tell everyone I know I've got the smartest and sexiest audience in all the podcast YouTube universe, and you never fail to live up to those high standards. Now, as you are traveling around on this blue and green ball, bouncing through the cosmos, I need you to do one thing for me. Go out and do that voodoo that you do so well.
All right, show's over. I'm tired.